So I'm 28 years old and I've got this older sister, Olivia, who's 31. Honestly, she hasn't really got her life together. But for some reason, our parents treat her like she's the golden child. Ever since we were kids, Olivia has had this idea in her head that I'm out to steal her thunder or something. Because of that, she's pretty much dedicated her life to one-upping me in everything. Let me break it down for you. It's not just the typical brother-sister rivalry where you might argue over who gets the last piece of cake or something. This goes way deeper. Say I decided to learn something new and cool, like archery. Next thing I know, Olivia's strutting around school with her own bow and arrows, telling everyone she's into archery too. And it didn't stop at hobbies. If I ever mentioned in my diary that I liked a guy, bam, she'd be all over him the very next day, flirting like there was no tomorrow. And it wasn't just about boys and hobbies. Even when I decided to eat healthier and exercise more, Olivia would suddenly become all about that healthy life as well, copying my diet and workout routine to a T. It was like whatever I did, she had to do it too, but not in a fun, let's share interests kind of way. More like, I've got to do everything you do and be in all your friend groups. So yeah, if I made a new friend, you could bet Olivia would be right there trying to become their best friend too. So here's the thing. Olivia had this habit of copying me to the point where it felt like she was always trying to be better than me at everything I did. This whole copycat game started to really bug me because it felt like I couldn't have anything that was just mine. I tried talking to my parents about how much this bothered me, but they didn't get it. They would just say stuff like, "Oh, sisters copy each other all the time, it's normal." And they made it seem like I was being silly for wanting to keep some of my interests just to myself. But the real problem wasn't about copying. It was about how I felt like I couldn't have my own space to enjoy the things I liked without Olivia turning it into some sort of competition. It wasn't fun for me. I didn't want to be in a constant battle over who could do something better. I just wanted to chill and do my thing, but Olivia always had to make everything into this big deal where she had to outdo me. And to make things even more annoying, it seemed like my parents were always cheering for Olivia, even when I was the one who really cared about whatever we were doing. Like, they would never miss any event or thing Olivia was part of, even if it meant taking time off work. But when it was my turn, suddenly their schedules were too packed and my stuff didn't seem to matter as much to them. It felt like they were always making a bigger fuss over her achievements and kind of just brushing mine aside. All right, so let me tell you how Olivia enjoyed being the center of attention all the time. She used every chance she got to rub it in my face how much our parents seemed to favor her over me. She'd whisper mean things to me when we were near our parents, and if I showed any sign of getting upset, she'd act all innocent, pretending she didn't know why I was bothered. But when we were alone, she'd be even meaner, telling me I should just disappear because nobody would even notice I was gone. Olivia would also tell me to stop being sad about always being in second place to her in everything. But her mean behavior didn't stop with just words. She actually bullied me physically at school a bunch of times. She'd do things like trip me on purpose where everyone could see, or hit me, then say it was just a dare from her friends. When my teachers noticed what was happening, they called in my parents to talk about it. They were so serious, they even mentioned suspending me. My parents would tell the school that this was just sibling stuff, and they'd deal with it at home. But at home, Olivia would twist the story, making it seem like I was the one causing trouble, which made her act out against me. From the get-go, Olivia had this knack for turning everything upside down, especially when it came to me. Our parents, bless their hearts, seemed to have their blinders on whenever Olivia was concerned. Whenever she did something outrageously mean, and they even came close to questioning her actions, Olivia could turn on the waterworks like nobody's business. She'd sob and claim that I was fabricating tales out of sheer jealousy. It was her go-to defense, and unfortunately, it worked every single time. My friends, who were real troopers through all this, began calling Olivia out on her downright nasty behavior towards me. That seemed to be the cue for Olivia to kick things up a notch. She started concocting these elaborate stories, complete with self-inflicted bruises or strategically placed bandages, and then went around telling everyone these were the results of my supposed attacks on her. She painted this picture of me as the aggressor, taking advantage of the fact that I'm more of an introverted soul, preferring to keep my personal issues to myself rather than broadcasting them for the world to hear. Trying to defend myself against Olivia's web of lies felt like trying to climb a mountain with no gear. She was relentless. She'd weave her tales to anyone who'd listen, anyone I'd ever spoken to, laughed with, or dared to develop a crush on. Her aim? To make them see me through her twisted lens. The result? My high school experience was less about learning and growing and more about surviving Olivia's campaign of terror. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. After Olivia finished high school, taking a gap year because her grades were too low for college admission, I was ready to start my own college journey. Thanks to hard work and maybe a sprinkle of luck, I landed enough scholarships to cover my tuition. I was proud, relieved even. But then, the bombshell dropped. My parents, in a casual conversation, let slip that they had been saving up for both our college funds. Only since I didn't need my share, they decided to funnel everything, yes, including the money earmarked for me, into Olivia's bottomless pit of needs. So there it was. The harsh truth laid bare. My efforts to be independent and financially responsible had inadvertently given my parents the green light to use resources meant for me to further indulge Olivia. It was a revelation that stung more than I care to admit, a stark reminder of the imbalance that had colored our sibling rivalry and my parents' favoritism from the start. When my parents laid out the red carpet for Olivia, telling her she could pick any major she fancied, it was like a slap in the face. But the real kicker came when I found out that they were planning to pour all the college savings into Olivia's lap. Yup, including the stash they'd been saving for me. I was steaming mad. So I tried to talk some sense into them. I suggested, hey, why not keep my college fund on the side for something I might need down the line? Like starting my own business or maybe even for my future wedding. But oh boy, did that conversation not go as planned. They hit me with the "it's our money, and we'll spend it how we like" speech, saying Olivia needed it way more than I did. I tried to argue my point, but they weren't having any of it. They even told me I needed to learn to fend for myself because they were done playing nursemaid to me. That night, I cried myself to sleep. It felt like no matter what I did, Olivia would always be the golden child, and I'd just be the family footnote. So when college move-in day came around, I packed up my life and made sure I took everything. I didn't want any reason to go back to that house. Predictably, my folks didn't lift a finger to help me move. By then, their absence was more expected than shocking. But it was during those low moments, feeling like I was pretty much on my own, that I crossed paths with Adam at one of the college's welcome events. He was like a ray of sunshine piercing through the clouds of my gloomy world. His kindness, that easygoing smile, it was all so genuine. Meeting Adam felt like I was finally turning a new leaf, leaving behind the stifling air of my family drama for something, or rather someone, incredibly uplifting. So as things went on, Adam turned out to be this amazing friend who was always there for me, like a rock. He was the kind of friend who listened to everything I had to say, never making me feel bad about any of it. He was just there, making me feel better when I felt like everything was just too much. Then came a time around Christmas when my parents were throwing this big party and wanted me to come home. The idea of going back there and dealing with all that drama by myself was just, no thanks. So I had this idea to bring Adam along. I thought it would be the perfect time for my family to meet him. I gave my folks a heads up that I was bringing my boyfriend along and we'd be staying in our own space, but would join everyone for the big dinner. When we showed up, I could tell my parents were kind of taken aback to see Adam. You see, my parents have these old school views, and they tend to make snap judgments about people based on how they look. But I was prepared for this. I'd already filled Adam in on what my family was like. So when he met them, he was his usual charming self, even bringing my mom a bouquet of flowers, which totally caught her off guard in a good way. That night, Adam was the star of the show. He was dropping these clever jokes and just being his awesome self, and everyone from my family couldn't help but adore him. So Adam was totally winning everyone over at the dinner. He was super nice about everything, like saying how delicious the food was, chatting with everyone in a really friendly way, and he even made this super sweet speech thanking my parents for letting him join our family gathering. It was pretty cool because some of my cousins even came up to me to say how awesome Adam seemed, and they were jokingly asking if he had any brothers. That part made me laugh. I was really glad to see that everyone was taking to my boyfriend so well, but I couldn't help but notice Olivia looking super annoyed and just kind of brewing in her own anger as the evening went on. Olivia started drinking a bit too much and was whispering stuff to some of our relatives. It was pretty clear she wasn't happy about Adam being there and seemed like she was plotting something. Then, right in the middle of dinner, she just blurted out really loudly, asking me if Adam and I were serious. It was so sudden that everyone just stopped and looked at us. I didn't even hesitate. I grabbed Adam's hand and told her, yes, we were totally serious about each other. But then Olivia, with this smug look on her face, suggested that maybe I should consider being with someone who fit our family's traditions better, implying that Adam wasn't a good match because he was different. Her comment was pretty rude and racist, and you could tell it made a bunch of people at the dinner feel uncomfortable because of how openly judgmental she was being. So Olivia, trying to act all sneaky, suggested that I should really think about how different our cultures were, She was basically saying that I should be with someone who fits better with our family's way of doing things. Hearing her say that really got me heated, and I was just about to let her have it. But then Adam, who didn't even seem bothered by her mean words, just smiled and calmly told her that he's just as American as anyone else in the room because he was born here. He went on to share that his great-grandparents came to America a long time ago and that his family has always taught him to respect all different cultures and beliefs. I was kind of upset that Adam even had to defend himself to my family like that, but the way he handled Olivia's nasty remarks just made me even more certain that he was the perfect guy for me. You can bet that after Adam stood up for himself like that, nobody was thinking too highly of Olivia. They didn't like how she tried to call out my boyfriend in front of everyone. For the rest of that evening, Olivia just sat by herself looking mad and sipping on her drink, especially after we all went back to college. I was so fed up with her behavior that I sent her a really long text telling her how embarrassed I was to call her my sister, and that I hoped she'd just stay out of my life. I mean, I didn't even want people to know we were related. She hit me back with a short text that just said, "Same here." Since that big argument, I haven't spoken to Olivia at all. Adam and I finished college, and now we both have really good jobs. 3 years back, we decided to get married. I invited my parents to the wedding, but made it clear that Olivia wasn't welcome, no matter how much my mom tried to change my mind. I wanted our wedding to be really special and fancy. My parents were pretty shocked to see how amazing everything looked at the wedding. My mom was totally blown away by it all, and my dad, who usually doesn't say much, didn't say anything. During the wedding, our guests, including friends and Adam's family, got to meet my parents. It didn't take long for everyone to notice that Adam's family had a lot of money, and the wedding really showed off how wealthy they were compared to my family. After the wedding, my parents came to talk to me. They seemed really surprised by how much money had been spent on the wedding and by how wealthy Adam's family was. My mom was curious about how we could afford such a fancy wedding, and I told her that Adam and I were doing pretty well for ourselves. I wanted to make sure they knew that even though Adam's family has a lot of money, our decision to get married wasn't just about that. I also do pretty well on my own. But looking back, I think it might have been a mistake to tell my parents so much about our financial situation. 2 years ago, out of the blue, my parents called me up for help. They told me they were in a bit of a pickle because my dad had retired, and they'd spent all their savings on fixing up their house. They asked if I could lend them a hand with money, which was a pretty big surprise because they usually didn't do stuff like that. But I've got to be honest, even though I've always felt like I didn't quite fit in with my family, it felt kind of nice to be the one they turned to. They said they'd be really grateful if I could send them $3,000 every month. This money, they explained, would cover their bills and medical costs, which were going up as they got older. At the time, I was doing pretty well at work, and Adam and I were in a good spot financially. We didn't have any kids, and I was making a decent paycheck, so I didn't think twice about saying yes. I guess I was a bit naive, but I felt it was my duty to help out my folks, believing they truly needed me. So, I started transferring the cash to them each month. When Adam found out, he was pretty taken aback. He pointed out that $3,000 a month was a lot of money for them to ask for. Even though it was a big ask, Adam and I really wanted to help out my parents. So sending them money every month just became part of what we did, and I never really dug into what they were using all that cash for. During this time, I started feeling like things between me and my parents were getting better. I wasn't sure if they were just acting nice because they liked the money coming in, but it felt like we were actually starting to connect. I began to think maybe I could let go of the tough times we had before and start fresh, aiming for a happier future together. Then out of the blue, 2 weeks ago, my phone blew up with calls from them right in the middle of a super busy workday. They know my schedule is packed, so seeing all those missed calls made me think something serious was up. I rushed to call them back. My dad was on the other end, asking me to swing by their place because they needed to chat about something important. I agreed, wondering what was up. That evening, after a long day at work, I showed up at their doorstep feeling pretty worn out, but curious. They were both looking really nervous, which got me worried. I asked if everything was okay, and that's when they kicked off the conversation by mentioning how grateful they were for all the financial help I'd been giving them. I just sat there, totally thrown off as my mom started to spill some really unexpected news. She told me about my sister Olivia, who I didn't even know was married, let alone trying to start a family. It turns out Olivia had been dealing with infertility for quite some time, and it had been really tough on her and her partner. After much struggle, she finally got pregnant, but it ended in a miscarriage, which was really hard on her. This was all a shock to me. I was completely in the dark about all of this. My parents continued, explaining that Olivia was now looking into doing IVF, a special medical treatment to help her get pregnant, but it was super expensive. They needed $25,000 to pay for it. Then they looked at me like they were expecting something, saying that since I was her sister, it was kind of my job to pitch in and help. They went on about how I should do this for Olivia because we're family, and family is supposed to support each other. I listened to all this, but when they asked me for the money, I was totally taken aback. The idea that I should pay such a huge amount for Olivia, especially when we've had such a rocky relationship, was mind-blowing to me. I had to remind them that Olivia and I had never really been close. She made my life miserable growing up. So the thought of giving her such a big amount of money just didn't make sense to me at all. My parents didn't like my answer at all. They kept saying that because I was Olivia's sister, it was somehow my job to help her have a baby. They even said that since I didn't have kids myself, the least I could do was help bring a grandchild into the family. To try and make peace, I told them I felt sorry for what Olivia was going through, but I wasn't going to just hand over money as a gift. I said if Olivia really needed the $25,000, I'd be okay with lending it to her, but only if she signed a legal contract that said she had to pay me back. And if she didn't, I'd have the right to take her to court. This made my parents really mad. They shouted at me, saying it was rude of me to even think about making Olivia sign a contract when I had so much money just sitting there. My mom said I was being selfish and that Olivia needed the money way more than I did. I was so angry at their nerve. I told them I was the one who had worked super hard to make my money. I have my own life and my own bills to pay. I couldn't just give away a huge chunk of my savings to someone who had always been mean to me and who I hadn't even talked to in forever. I made it clear to them, if they weren't okay with my conditions, then they shouldn't expect any more money from me. Right after I said that, my parents began yelling, telling me this was exactly why they had a problem with me. I always acted too proud, like I was better than everyone else. Their words really shocked me, especially since just a minute before, they were all sweet, asking me for money. Even though they tried to make me feel guilty, I didn't change my mind. But I started feeling really suspicious about all the money I had been sending them. I said I needed to go to the bathroom. I had to move fast, so I sneaked off to my parents' bedroom and saw my dad's phone charging on the nightstand. I knew it wasn't right, but I couldn't ignore the bad feeling in my gut, so I decided to look at his phone. That's when I saw the messages showing he had been sending $1,800 every month to my sister for the last 2 years. I was totally shocked. My suspicions were right. It felt like a huge betrayal, and it wasn't just about the money. The real issue for me was that they had lied to me and played with my feelings for 2 whole years. I felt my heart racing as I understood how much they had tricked me. I went back to face my parents, not even trying to hide how much their betrayal hurt me. I asked them straight out what they had been doing with the $3,000 I sent them every month. They looked totally caught off guard by my question. They stumbled over their words, trying to think of what to say. I didn't wait for them to figure it out. I called them out on sending $1,800 every month to my sister. They went white as a sheet and couldn't speak for a few seconds. Then the truth came spilling out. They admitted they had been giving a lot of the money I sent to Olivia. Their excuse was that she really needed the money, and as her parents, they couldn't just watch her struggle. Hearing that excuse made me really angry. I asked them, "What about me? Didn't you think it was wrong to lie and take my money for 2 years?" They tried to defend themselves by saying Olivia and her husband didn't make much money. My parents tried to justify their actions by saying that since I had a fancy wedding and a well-paying job, they thought taking money from me wouldn't really affect me. They even said it was all Olivia's idea at first, but they went along with it, thinking they were doing the best thing for their kids. But all that did was make me even more upset and disappointed. I had enough at that point. I told them I wasn't going to give them any more money, and that I was done supporting them financially. My parents got really desperate and mad, telling me I couldn't just stop helping my family when they needed me. But I just laughed at that and left their house, feeling a whirlwind of emotions like anger, sadness, but also like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Now, as I'm writing this, my parents keep calling me, begging me to reconsider, saying they won't take any more money from me if I just don't cut them off completely after everything they've done. Update 1. I'm super grateful for all the kind and supportive messages you guys have sent. Honestly, the guilt from my family was starting to weigh on me a bit because I know I've been really lucky to have someone as amazing as Adam in my life. It means a lot to me that people are finally listening to my childhood stories and believing them. Talking about this stuff has been tough because some folks think I'm just making it up or being too dramatic. So, a huge thanks to everyone. I've talked it over with Adam, and he's really upset about how my parents have been deceiving me and taking my money for the past couple of years. We've made a firm decision that we're not going to let this happen again, no matter what, even if my parents are in a really bad spot. In the meantime, my parents keep calling and texting, swinging between saying sorry, trying to make me feel bad, and begging me to change my mind. But no matter what they say, I'm sticking to my decision to cut off contact with them. Update 2. Alright, so it's been about 2 weeks since the last time I told you guys what was going on. This time something really unexpected happened. Out of the blue, Olivia, my stepsister, decided to message me. I was totally surprised because I didn't even know she had my number after all this time. But instead of saying sorry or anything like that, she sent me this really long text that was super mean. She called me selfish and childish and said she's always disliked me. She even went as far as to call me a gold digger, saying I only married Adam for his money. She also said that I shouldn't keep all my money to myself, and that our family deserves a part of it because, well, we're family. Olivia even said she wished she had been meaner to me when we were kids, just so I'd always remember her and what she could do. Reading all of that made me feel awful, and I ended up crying. It was like all the bad stuff from when I was younger came back all at once. I showed Adam the message, and he got really mad. He said he'd had enough of this and decided to do something about it himself. So, Adam put together a group chat on Messenger with my parents, Olivia, and a bunch of our relatives and cousins. He shared screenshots of Olivia's message and explained that he was getting involved because Olivia and my parents were trying to scare me into continuing to send them $3,000 every month. He told everyone about the lies my parents and Olivia had been telling me for the last 2 years, and he didn't leave out the part about how Olivia used to bully me all the time when we were kids. Okay, so picture this. Not long after Adam shared everything in the group chat, things got super intense really fast. Like our phone started blowing up with messages from our relatives who were completely shocked. They couldn't believe how my parents had acted, trying to sneak money from me like that. And let's not even start on Olivia. Everyone was just floored by how mean and sneaky she had been. I got a bunch of calls from family members, and during those calls, I told them more about how my parents were actually giving Olivia $1,800 every month from the money I thought was going to them. Our relatives were really upset about the whole thing, and because of that, my parents started getting a lot of heat from everyone. They were so embarrassed and pressured that they actually called me, begging me to just delete the group chat and pretend none of this happened. But Adam was like, "No way, we're not sweeping this under the rug." He was super firm and told them he was fed up with their nonsense. He even warned them that if they ever tried to ask us for money again, he'd go all out, hiring the best lawyers to take them to court. That really freaked them out. And since then, they've been way too scared to even try contacting me. I've heard from other family members that my parents are really ashamed of themselves now, especially after they finally gave Olivia a talking to for everything she's done to me. They seem to be really sorry after seeing the proof in the messages that Olivia was actually bullying me, just like I had told them before. But, to be honest, I feel like it's way too late for any apologies now. I've decided to just keep them out of my life and focus on being happy with Adam, away from all that drama. Update 3. Hey everyone, I just want to say you all rock. Seriously, thank you so much for all the support you've given me. I wish I could reply back to each of you one by one, but honestly my fingers would probably fall off if I tried. Since I last updated you guys, I've been overwhelmed with so much support from you all. It's been amazing, and both Adam and I are thinking about seeing a therapist. We want to get some help to work through the really tough feelings I've been having about cutting ties with my parents and getting over how my family betrayed me. But also, all the support from my cousins and other relatives has really helped me feel confident that I made the right choice. So far, there's been total silence from my parents and Olivia, and after what Adam said to them, I'm pretty sure it's going to stay quiet. Moving forward, I really want to focus on taking care of myself and concentrating on the positive stuff in my life, especially my time with Adam. I know it might not be easy all the time, but I'm hopeful. With the right people by my side, I feel like things are going to get better. I'm hoping this will be the last time I'll need to update you all on this.